7.
It is the 23rd day of April 2026. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is TV47 Breakfast, and a lot is happening in the world. So a lot to be marked globally, and we'll be telling you that in a short while. My name is Anne Odida.
My name is Fred Indimuli, and the Iranian war has had some other byproducts of itself. We'll be looking at that in the dailies. Apparently the price of condoms is set to go up, and they're linking it directly to the war in Iran.
That is nice. Wanaambia wacheni hiyo ushirati.
Yes. But now the issue is, and I think for the last 2-3 weeks we've just been talking about fuel prices. But if you go on Twitter today, because I woke up very early, and for me to gauge what exactly people are talking about, especially locally, we always just take a look at what are the conversations. The conversation has just been about fuel prices, the price of fuels, do you wear fuel price hikes, do you fare imepanda wapi, lakini leo nimeamuka usiku, okay, because sisi huwa tunaamka usiku.
Tunazo usiku.
And I go on Twitter, I go on Instagram, I go on Facebook, I go on TikTok, and Kenyans are just talking about one thing, and one thing only. Njugush. Why? These are personal decisions. Why are we talking about someone and their personal decisions? The whole country has stuck somewhere.
Everyone is crying.
People are crying. People are so invested.
Hata Ian, so umeingia hapa Ian camera person akili.
Amekaa tu hapa tu, amekaa tu hivi tu amelemewa.
Amesika nishinda ni baridi ama ni nini? Anasema walikuwa wamekelea njugush bet.
I do not think, I can't even recall any time that we've had this kind of obsession about an individual. Things do happen. A lot of things do happen, yes? But I've never seen that level of discussion about one person. Okay, about two people.
Is it really an obsession? I think they were just a lovely couple. Now their breakup is...
Come on, how many couples have we seen?
Sasa kama yenu yenye yongelelewi si...
No.
Well...
People release albums. People release new songs. Yeah? How come we never talk about them that much?
Unajua njugush na sele kweli, wenye watu walikuwa wamemwa.
Where the discussion on all social media pages in Kenya currently.
Yes.
It's just njugush sele. Njugush sele.
I
do not know the truth. I do not know the story very well. But that is what people are
talking about. But Njugush mwenyewe amepost. So
story ni yake. Story ni yake
na ashatuambia story yake. Sasa ni story yetu.
Yes, atisema tu story yetu. Hiyo ni story yake. Ni story yao.
Sasa we will say it the way he has said it. Manake sasa story ni yetu venye Ian amesema amewekelea sasa watu wawili. Watu wawili peke yake wamebaki amewekelea.
Let's talk about something else surely. Just go on any social media page right now and see. There's only one discussion. Talking about Story Yetu, that's the hashtag to use, Story Yetu. Also hashtag TV47 Breakfast. And you can also interact with us on all the social media pages. TV47 Kenya on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. It is TV47 Digital on X.
All right, UDA grassroots elections today.
Well, yes. Today. Happening across the country.
Yes.
And no, 18 different electoral areas, not everywhere.
Yes. And I already said a lot is happening as well. Today, the 23rd of April, it's World Table Tennis Day, World Book and Copyright Day. It's also International Girls in ICT Day. So that's all that is happening today. Globally, let's take a look at the state of the weather. All right. It's cloudy today in Bomet. This morning it's 13 degrees, highs of 28 degrees. Kisii, it's also a cloudy day, 16 degrees this morning, highs of 27 degrees. Kilifi, it's raining this morning and it's 24 degrees. It's also quite not so hot day. Highs of 28 degrees expected in Kilifi County today. We take a look at Busia, thunderstorms expected. 18 degrees this morning, highs of 27 degrees. Kitui is also raining this morning, 17 degrees, highs of 26 degrees. And Nairobi, it will also rain. This morning is 15 degrees, highs of 24 degrees expected today. And that's the state of it. All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
The road to success is never straight or simple. There will be moments when you stumble, but it's in those moments that you find your greatest strength. Embrace failure as a teacher and let it shape you into someone unstoppable.
All right, we'll take a look at the local dailies now, and to start off with the Daily Nation. Most expensive presidency, and that's the main story on the front page of this daily. Pushback, State House says budgets for all offices are passed by Parliament. Now, they call it a runaway bill that President William Ruto could easily be running Kenya's most expensive presidency, with expenditure by executive offices, including Office of the President, Deputy President, Prime Cabinet Secretary, and State House, projected to hit a record 100 billion shillings this June. With more than a year to the end of his 5-year term, the bill is expected to surpass the entire budget its predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta spent in 10 years. Runaway bill. The percentage of spending under Ruto's presidency that has gone to recurrent items such as salaries, hosting delegations and travel is 94%. 6% tu peke yake ndio imebaki ifike 100%.
Well,
they call it the most expensive presidency.
What do you think would be the most expensive thing is spending money on? Is it the renovations of State House and State Lodges? That could be, because yes, you can see how big that is. Building of that pavilion at State House, something else that was never there. Now, but hosting people at State House, because you know, when you go to State House, even if it's a political meeting, you are a guest of the head of state, and you have to be entertained by the head of state. Your budget sasa si yake huko nje, hiyo ni yake ya president. Unajua President Uhuru Kenyatta alikuwa na invite tu marafiki zake wachache wanakunywa uji. Sasa this president is inviting so many people. Someone was even suggesting goons should be invited to State House yesterday.
Goons?
Yes.
Goons wale bouncers ama goods?
A woman representative for Nairobi, Esther Pasari, suggested that the best way to handle goons is to invite them to State House.
Wafanye nini?
Wa meet the president.
Alafu sasa
budget ya president ipande zaidi.
But anyway, ikuwe zaidi, si ndio? Ikuwe the most expensive president.
It's already the most expensive.
Lakini I also think those inaitwa development drives. You see the way he goes to every county and kuna vitu anawaachia pale.
But you see that budget is actually domiciled in the respective ministries. If at all he goes to probably launch a market, that should be under the trade ministry, not directly under State House.
Alafu zile za kupeana kanisa. Saa zingine hizo za counties hazitoshi. Lakini Daily Nation has captured this on page 4 and 5. You can grab a copy of this newspaper and take a look at it. It's a very interesting read. Analysis shows Ruto is running Kenya's most expensive presidency.
3 years on.
3 years on.
Ashafikisha 100 billion.
100 billion. 100?
Sema itafika 100 billion very soon.
90.
94%. Na 90 billion is what Uhuru Kenyatta spent over 10 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Uhuru Kenyatta was 89 or 90?
No. The grand total ya Uhuru Kenyatta hapa 90 billion. The first 5-year term 36, the second one 53. Akamaliza hiyo. So William Ruto has already spent that in the first 4 years.
Yes, the most expensive presidency.
Yes.
Other quick headlines here. Wetangula sparks row over MP's role in national ID cards, and his directive for MPs to deploy their staff to collect and distribute national IDs has raised security concerns and likely abuse for partisan political goals. There are worries that MPs being interested parties could abuse their position with elections due next year. Now, the Law Society of Kenya also cautions involving third parties could compromise the integrity of the documents. This is valid.
What, the complaints?
The complaints.
No, not the directive by the speaker.
The complaints are valid.
Yes.
Uko interested, unataka kuissue, utakuwa na
issue. Ati sasa MP ndo anaenda anachukua IDs anakuja na distribute. If at all he knows that these people in this area are not his voters,
akupei
aleti ID na ataficha. Hiyo ni mchezo mbaya sana hiyo.
Yes. So these are valid concerns. Bribery scandal, MP loses post in watchdog team. This is Bumula MP Jack Wamboka. He has been suspended from chairing the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education following claims he solicited bribes from witnesses. imagine wakienda this route. Tunakumbuka venye governors walikuwa wanasema CPAC, kuna bribery, a lot of bribery inaendelea hapo. So parliament ikiendelea that route, could eject every chairperson who is accused of bribery.
Kuna hii, there's this word, because the president started this thing and he said very many people in both houses of parliament are rent seeking.
Yes.
Simply, they're extortionists. Wakapiga kelele, senators were accused by governors, they're doing the same. Wakapiga kelele, now, within the National Assembly itself. Now it's the NCIC chairperson, who's a reverend.
Yes.
Yes. Ndo alisema hapa iko shida. So actually, kuna kaukweli mahali.
Yes. Ni kama kuna kaukweli, maana yake sasa tunaona action.
Hiyo yote simetokea tu hapo.
Yes. There's a feel-good story here. Changing face of the dance floor and city nightlife. Leon Frank Dosso remembers the years Kisumu's nightlife had a heartbeat one could feel from the doorway. Back then, music pulled people to their feet onto a shared stage of rhythm and style. I stressed on Kisumu because I come from Kisumu, and right now Nimona complains about Kisumu online that if you go to Kisumu, especially at night, it's a ghost city. There is no one at night. By 9 p.m. ukitembea Kisumu town uko peke yako. And that's ni kama tunaenda the coast way, manake wanasema coast counties are lazy counties. Uko watu ni kama, you know, hawataki pesa.
Same thing is happening in Nairobi, by the way, if you've not realized, because a few years back, most of the entertainment places were actually in the CBD. Pale karibu Nation Center hapo kulikuwa na nyingi sana. Right now, if you go to that place after 8 p.m, there's no one. Ni wafanyakazi tu wa Nation Media Group wakienda nyumbani.
Wewe koma wewe.
Now maybe you go down.
Nawaambia nini unawatajia?
Hawako, si ndio sababu tunaangalia si gazeti ni yao. Ni yao tu.
Story ni yao.
Story ni yao. Hakuna kitu na happen hiyo town. Actually Nairobi used to be very active at night. Nowadays unless wanaenda kesha unaitwaje Uhuru Park. Ama pale KICC there's a big event. Other than that, there's no one in town.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. They closed all the entertainment places because of the argument was they were too close to the mosque, Jamia Mosque. Sasa wakaenda kabisa. So Nairobi city is actually dead.
Wanapigia Jamia Mosque kelele.
Wanapiga kelele hapo sana.
Interesting. Lakini for Kisumu, sisi tumezoea silence. On the back page of the Daily Nation, 5-leg African athletics series in the works. Ferdinand Omanyala is here as well, na train hapo. They say Kipkeino Classic has been the only WA, what is WA? World Athletics Gold Tour event in Africa. Yeah. And KCB clash with home side Al Ahly in Women's Africa Club Championships final. That's the Daily Nation.
Yes, najua kuna story moja ambayo director leo Emmanuel Inonda angependa sana tuizungumzie kwa sport. The fact that, okay, it's a piece of news, like we have to say. For the first time this season, Manchester City is actually top of the table. Yes, they beat Burnley yesterday by a goal to 0. So wamepita Arsenal by a goal difference. They have a superior goal difference. Ni ile tu wako more goals. Sasa huyu director anapiga kelele, story ni yake ama story ni yetu? Itabidi utulie ama ukuje uchukue kazi hapa. Let's take a look at Chan. There's a scandal on the front page of the Standard. There's local football. They say there's a heist. A 42 million shilling payment for Chan 2024 insurance brokerage has triggered a probe by the Anti-Corruption Commission amid claims the deal was awarded to an unlicensed firm. Bank records, correspondence for the insurance regulator and procurement trails indicate Riskwell Insurance Brokers was registered just 4 weeks before the tournament. Wow. Yet on August 4th, the opening day of Chan, funds were transferred from the federation's accounts to the little-known entity, raising questions about the exact pocketed amount. They have some of the correspondence there on the front page of the Standard. But it's a story on page 3 of the Standard that I think will attract a lot of the attention. They say, pricey shield, condom maker passes on shocks of Iran war. So the boss of the world's biggest condom maker, Carex, says the firm will raise its prices by up to 30% or possibly more if the Iran war continues to disrupt supply of the raw material used in its products. So actually, if you never knew, a lot of the raw material used in making this commodities actually inatoka upande hiyo, sababu mafuta ndio one of the byproducts of petroleum ni hii.
Okay.
So asema demand for condoms has risen by about 30% this year, with higher freight costs and delays to shipping worsening shortages. So very soon we could be experiencing shortages in Kenya as well. Yeah.
Mwezi Jundia wa Kenya yenu.
Nataka saa Juni watatoa wapi hiyo raw material? Raw material itatoka wapi? Strait of Hormuz imefungwa.
Waweke ile mafuta ya kupika.
You know, they keep opening and reopening and closing the Strait of Hormuz. So that's a problem. So that's story on page 3. Alafu, in the UK, they've agreed to ban smoking for people born after 2008. So if you're born after 2008, you're officially banned from smoking. Kama ni mzee anaweza kubaliwa, lakini ukifika it's the third page hapo ni interesting. All right. And that's the Standard today. And after any other story that could be of interest, the first 3 pages. Kuna hii story ya SHA. Nimeona hapa ndani. You will see it also on other front pages. And the health CS was talking about how the fraud in SHA is being perpetrated. Apparently kuna mtu mmoja may register 50 wives and 375 children. And that's how they're defrauding SHA, according to the CS.
Oh, wow.
That story is on all papers today, but not on the front page of the Standard. The Standard Neo Story Chan. Neo Story bribery in Parliament, which we'll be talking about later with my panelists. Iko hapa ndani ya hii story. All right, back page. Clash of Titans as Al Ahly and KCB face off for African glory. This is the African Women's Volleyball Club Championships reaching a fever pitch in Cairo today. The spotlight narrows down to the final clash, pitting host Al Ahly and Kenya's KCB Bank. So something to look forward to. Na mambo ya EPL, hata tukishughulikia watu wenye wako pale kileleni kule chini. Former EPL champs Leicester City relegated to League One. These people, actually Leicester City won the league about, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, Leicester City. It's 10 years ago? Oh, okay. Walipiga Arsenal. Huyo jamaa tukianza kuongea na mambo ya mpira hata tunashindwa kuendelea.
Ni wewe sasa ndio ulianza. Iko
kwa gazeti, sasa tusisome gazeti. Tusisome gazeti sasa.
Taifa Leo.
Tuendelee na magazeti tuachana hawa.
Wetangula awasha moto. Hiyo masuala hapo ya usajili, agizo lake kwa wabunge kuwa wachukue vitambulisho vipya kisha wapelekee wananchi katika maeneo ya bunge yao limekosolewa kama hatari, kwani mbali na stakabadhi hiyo kuwa katika hatari ya kusababisha changamoto za kiusalama, inaweza kutumiwa vibaya na wabunge hao kwa maslahi yao binafsi. Aliwaagiza wabunge watumie ofisi zao kuchukua vitambulisho na kuwapelekea raia makazini kwao. Lakini hii kazi ilikuwa ya nani initially, ya kupeleka ID cards?
Unafaa uende we mwenyewe uchukue ID card yako.
Sasa kwa
Huduma Center ama kwa chief mali uliapply.
Sasa kwa nini kulikuwa na hii agizo MPs waende wachukue wapeleke watu wako wao?
Na speaker wa bunge ana kazi gani kuagiza wabunge kwenda kuchukua IDs kama nani? Hilo ndo swali. Unaona hapo kama kuna inaitwaje? Is it right? Kuna justification?
Hakuna.
For members of the National Assembly to go pick IDs and distribute in the constituency.
Watatuambia hii ilikuwa kazi ya nani kitambo. This story is on page 2. Vidokeze zaidi watu 12 kotini kwa kushiriki maandamano. Miongoni mwa Wakenya waliokamatwa kwa kushiriki maandamano ya kulalamika bei za juu za mafuta ni watoto 2. Very interesting. Lakini sasa hivi mmesahau mambo na mafuta, tuko mambo nyingine. Trump arefusha muda wa kusitisha vita. Iran naye yasema rais wa Amerika ana mchezo mwingi, hivyo haizipi kauli zake uzito. Maandamano makubwa yaja, upinzani yasema. Muungano wa upinzani watangazia serikali bonge la maandamano kuanzia Juni tarehe 25 mwaka huu. Na
you see hapo wamepeana date. Jana magazeti yalikuwa na waingilia wanasiasa wengi ati kwa mbona hawakuenda maandamano. Hawakuwa wamesema wataenda maandamano. Now I think there's some congruence there. The United Opposition, Linda Mwananchi, they're all talking about the dates around June 25th. So they've given a date. Yes.
Lakini ni wakora kweli kweli. June 25th
wanataka
wenyewe pia wanaenda back to the streets to mark the anniversary of the 2024 finance bill protest. Ni wajanja kweli kweli. That's another story on page 3. On the top strip, ofisi ya Ruto inavyonyonya pesa kwa pupa. Kitengo cha urais chatumia shilingi bilioni 88 katika miaka mitatu. Uhuru alitumia shilingi bilioni 90 katika miaka 10. Oh wow, in 10 years former president used 90 billion shillings in 10 years.
In 10 years.
Now in 3 years, President William Ruto has used 88 billion shillings.
Yes.
Kwa Chelsea ni pigo zito baada ya pigo. The Blues katika hatari ya kukosa kufuzu kwa UEFA bado ya kupigwa tena ligini. Taifa Leo.
Umeanza masuala ya mpira nikangojea nisikie director akiongea.
Kama uko tushatoka.
Tuangazie gazeti la The Star. On The Star, Gachagua in big war with Mount Kenya MPs and county chiefs. The DCP leader is apparently fronting candidates to challenge incumbents. The other day I saw him unveiling one of the aspirants for the Kiambu gubernatorial race. And many people are like, okay, why are you announcing a candidate? But he clarified that this is an aspirant, not a candidate. That other people are still welcome and they can declare their interest in such seats. But quite a number of people, wale especially those who differ with him and are elected leaders in Mount Kenya region, tayari DCP sharp-plant candidates pale, or aspirants, to give them a run for their money. The other political story pale, and this is a rare photo of those coast leaders, 2 governors, 2 former governors, Speaker of the Senate, Secretary General of the UDA party, wote wako hapa. Wanaita ati consolidating support. Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro, UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar, Senate Speaker Amason Kingi, Mining CS Hassan Joho, Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir, and Sports CS Salim Vuria during their meeting on Tuesday. They're anticipating a visit by President William Ruto to the coastal region. Some of these people are not that close to each other, but because sasa inabidi wakuje pamoja, ndio tunaona hapo. Away from politics, number of people testing for HIV in free fall. This is data from the US. The number of Kenyans tested for HIV fell after the US briefly suspended health funding to Kenya and other countries last year. So that lack of funding imefanya watu waache kupimwa virusi vya ukimwi. Watu wapimwe.
Kwa nini?
Sijui kama now it means that there's a cost to it that you have to pay. Yeah. Because I don't understand. Walikuwa nazita nini VCT? VCT was free testing. Yes, unaenda pale unapima. So I don't know why exactly. But people, watu wengi hawapimwi virusi vya ukimwi. Ile hadithi pale ya maswala ya SHA, 50 spouses, 375 children. CS Duale exposes shocking SHA fraud schemes. And whenever we talk about SHA, it's just fraud and attempts at fraud and fraud every time. That story is on page 7. Pale juu, maswala ya vyama vya kisiasa. ODM ya Sifuna, it has been linked to a new People's Renaissance Movement, a new party. Meanwhile, UDA is running its grassroots elections today in at least 18 constituencies. You said that. So discussions around political parties, I think now this People's Renaissance Movement becomes the 93rd registered political party in Kenya. Vyama ni vingi. That's a star.
All right, the Business Daily, health and car theft insurance compensation hits 100 billion shillings. And a surge in medical bills, road accidents and car thefts drove insurance claims above the 100 billion shillings mark. For the first time last year, amid fears premiums could spike, the latest IRA analysis shows medical claims rose by 17.9% to about 52 billion shillings in compensation for accidents, and stolen cars increased to 12.4%, that is 40 billion shillings. And this has continued the trend where motor and medical insurers go for years without underwriting profits, making them rely on investments income to avoid losses. There's a story on page 2, and the jump in accidents and medical bills, as well as a rush of fraudulent claims, are expected to jack up insurance bills as insurers seek higher premiums to cover their losses. All right, Kenya freezes Binance accounts in money laundering purge. The country has frozen an undisclosed number of Binance user accounts in its first major crackdown on the booming cryptocurrency industry amid global concerns that digital currencies are being used for fraud, money laundering, and financing terrorist activities. Mtalia, hii ni mbaya. Go page 2, this story. Kenya freezes Binance accounts. Now what happens to people who are investing in this?
There's always a risk involved, especially when you approach this newly found investment vehicles. But anyway.
Nashangaa sana. Kama ulikuwa umeweka pesa hapo, at least tuambie kunaendaje sasa.
The lower the risk, the lower the return.
The poorer you are. Wanasema the rich take risks.
Take risks, yes.
On the ticker, Treasury tightens rules for access to climate billions. ABSA bets on tech budget to power digital drive, and Kenya extends its surplus run in trade with the UK, and that's the Business Daily. Yeah,
one more headline from Kenya, and that's the People Daily. Talks purely about political parties. Why Ruto wants a new political vehicle for 2027. Apparently, the president is keen on one big party. Hataki yo maswala ya Kenya Kwanza. Everyone, fold your small party, TSP ile ya Kiunjuri, PA ile ya Speaker Kingi, hiyo ingine ya chama cha kazi, ANC, EFP, wote ikuwe UDA party. Ndio akuwe na chama kimoja kikubwa. That's a story on page 4 of the People Daily. Tuvuke boda tuende tuangalie ndugu zetu kule Uganda na Tanzania wanazungumzia nini. Na tukianza na Uganda, the Daily Monitor this morning in Kampala goes back, revisits the story about this person who killed a number of young children, kwa daycare. Inasemekana now he had targeted 6 nursery schools. Evidence tendered in court yesterday revealed that Christopher Okello Onyum, the prime suspect in the killing of 4 toddlers at a daycare center, conducted extensive online searches on several nursery and preschool facilities across Kampala and Wakiso before the deadly attack occurred. What was his intention? Awe watoto hapa daycare, aende kwingine atafute nursery ya uwe wengine. Anyway, so that's the main story there on the front page of the Daily Monitor. And there's a story of an MP who died in Uganda, anaitwa Nakimuli, but that now is the main story on the front page of the New Vision. Because yesterday they took the body of this MP who passed on following illness to Parliament for final respects, and they said she died from fibroids, the silent health threat. Nakimuli's family speaks out, fibroids, what medics recommend. Yes, and her image there on the front page of the New Vision. Tukiingia Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi, serikali yaweka jicho kamati ya taka ruzuku. Ni kamati gani hii? Dembeji Ndenjembi aeleza serikali inavyochukua hatua. Kamati ya bunge yagusia mafungu ya kutumika. Wachumi wataja sababu unafuu wa bei nchini. Huyo ni waziri wa nishati, masuala ya energy. Ndo bariku pale. Tundu Lissu wamerejea kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, wanasema madai njama ya kumuua Lissu. Polisi ya Mwita Hilda. Kumbuka huyo jamaa bado yuko korokoroni. Na sasa inasemekana kulikuwa na njama ya kumuua. Gazeti la Mwananchi. On the Citizen, what really drives East Africa fuel cost disparities? Ile swali tulikuwa nauliza. How come in Kenya the cost of a liter of petrol is different or much higher than that in Tanzania and in Uganda? So that is the story that the Citizen tries to break down. Experts say the discrepancies have nothing to do with the size of road networks.
Yes.
Hii explanation ya size of road networks ni President William Ruto alipeana.
Yes.
Alisema the reason why fuel prices are higher in Kenya as opposed to Uganda and Tanzania is because of the size of our road network.
Yeah.
Sasa there's a paper in Tanzania saying it has nothing to do with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Pointing instead to taxation policies and state interventions as more decisive factors.
Roads Minister wao
Sio sisi
mambo.
Amesema hapana, waache kutuambie wati hatuna barabara ndio sababu wewe waache.
Kwanza akasema Kenya na Tanzania tuko same level. Hakuna cha Kenya
barabara.
Middle class country.
Anyway, tumwamini nani? Story ni yetu.
Well, story nani yetu.
So tutasikiza rais wetu.
Wasikize wao pia.
Wasikize wao, si tusikize wetu, achane na sisi. Tuangazie karakacha sasa hapa nchini, and we start off with the cartoon of the People Daily today, and it has a caricature of a police vehicle carrying wale walikuwa nasemekana walikuwa kwenye maandamano. So there's a conversation here between those arrested, between the police as they continue arresting demonstrators. Police wanasema it is illegal to protest against poverty and high cost of fuel. How now? Alafu mwingine anasema afande, we've run out of fuel.
Wanaenda kujaza.
So wanashika watu wenye wale protest about fuel prices na wenyewe hawana mafuta.
All right, the one on the Star, the police bosses are here and the Interior Cabinet Secretary akiwa pale before Parliament. Aliambia members of Parliament that goons, wao bansas wao, ndio goons.
Nyinyi alisema nyinyi wanasiasa, nyinyi ndio mnaleta goons.
Ni nyinyi. Na sasa hapa anawaambia the buck stops there kwa mfuko zenyu.
Sababu ndo wako na pesa.
Na pesa.
Wananunua.
Yes.
On the Standard, I can see now matters education given prominence. Kuna wazazi, kuna Alana wa grade 10. Kuna education sector wanazungumzia career pathways. Mwalimu amepoint kwingine. Mzazi ako confused. Just talks about the confusion in the new curriculum, especially for grade 10, and the career pathways that they're supposed to pick. Hata zile text wanafaa kutumia, kusoma. Haziko tayari. That's a cartoon on the Standard, matters education.
Finally, the one on the Daily Nation talks about the conversation on zoning that is currently continuing between UDA and ODM. Lakini hapa ni kama UDA isha attack, wengine hata wana pa kuweka socket.
Kwa hiyo extension. Na wanatumia, they're using a fork. Unajua how risky that is?
Yes.
Unaweka metallic fork huko ndani ati ndo uweze kuingiza.
Shock ikupige.
Utapigwa na stima.
Na Emerson Kingi yako hapo leo. Namuona leo for the first time.
Ako upande wa rais.
Yes. Ni kama huko unaona kule coast. Coast area ndio sasa ODM inasema huko kusiguswe. Emerson Kingi ni wa huko. That's the Daily Nation. Let's take a look at traffic.
What? All right, a quick look at the major highways in Nairobi, and you can see that long stretch of red there at the Pangani interchange. It's exactly 29 minutes past 6, and this one is extending all the way from the Utalii Drift up Mathare Mental Hospital. It's not even Utalii Drift, imerudi nyuma hadi KCA University. That's where the traffic begins on Thika Road. This is going to be problematic, definitely. For anyone using Thika Road, Leo traffic between KCA University and Pangani Interchange is actually quite heavy. For those coming from Kiambu Road, not much is going to affect you, but kutokea pale DCI, as you drop to Muthaiga, definitely there will be a problem there. Tuangazie barabara nyingine leo. And taking a look at Outer Ring Road, and it's not looking bad. Pale Manyanja, there's a bit of traffic on that interchange. Jogoo Road not looking bad as well. This is Juja Road. Pale ni bona sio ni sawa. Na Outer Ring, hapo kuna traffic kidogo. Yes, now it's much clearer. Jogoo Road not so bad. You can see a stretch of yellow pale immediately after Makadara. But once you get to that Likoni Road, roundabout, it eases off as you head towards City Stadium roundabout. Other than that, no other major problems apart from the Eastern Bypass. I can see Utawala, that section, ya KQ headquarters, and even as you go towards Cabanas, a bit of traffic there, but that is very normal. On the other highways, heading towards the CBD, I'm looking at Mombasa Road, and it's looking green all the way from the airport to the city center. Southern Bypass is also looking quite smooth this morning. Langata Road, Ngong Road, and Wayakiwe, all looking smooth. But watu wa Thika Road, poleni sana. All the way from Safari Park, I can see Safari Park to Garden City, there's traffic. And then kuna ile ya kawaida pale Pangani, ambayo haikai kawaida sana leo. Inakaa kuna shida pale. So if you're using Thika Road, kama you can try and use any other road, jisaidie.
All right. Now we have a packed show lined up for you today. Coming up next is State of the Nation, and then
a quick look at the headlines, and our panelists this morning: Wilson Sosion, former member of the National Assembly; Rachel Omolo, who's a public policy and governance expert; and Ikwa Wambote, who's a political analyst. They will be in studio after the break to help us take a look at the big discussions today. Later on,
we'll be having a conversation on mental health. Are we losing ourselves to social media? That is the question you're asking you online. And after that, we'll be having Men Talk.
Yes.
Yes.
Is money the only measure of a man's worth?
Is it?
If you relate it with the kind of conversation on all our social media pages, yes. That dude had money. What was the problem? Anyway, so we'll be having a panel to discuss.
Snippets. Just now that you talk about it, it's interesting sababu ni mwana snippets. So, unajua sasa watu wameanza kuleta videos zile za red flags that were there that maybe the guy hakuwa keen to.
But it had nothing to do with money, did it?
It had nothing to do with money. Yeah. Mostly appearance.
All right. So, yes, get interactive with us, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where we're streaming live, on X at TV47 Digital. You can tag us individually at Fred Indimoli.
At _Dida, use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Neato. WhatsApp line is also active, 0793 267 279. See you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimeekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Nikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me. Nitumie ni line.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? High five?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already. We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Sharpen the energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Booyah! We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Booyah! We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu huu ni system isikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo ni tonga commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikae kuchoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
All right, good morning once again and welcome back. This is TV47 Breakfast with me, Fred Indemuli. Time for us to take a look at the big headlines or some of the big talking points as covered by our various news outlets. And this morning, a privilege to have these three individuals who are going to help us as our panelists to discuss these. Beginning on my immediate left, Ikua Wambote, who's a political analyst. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Fred.
Next to Ikua, we do have Rachel Omolo, who's a public policy and governance expert. It's good to have you in studio, Rachel.
Thank you, Fred. Good morning, everyone.
And a familiar face on this panel, Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who's a unionist, an educationist, and also a former member of the National Assembly. Karibu sana, Mwalimu.
Thank you and good morning.
Yes, I'd like to draw your attention to one of the stories. We may not necessarily focus on the main discussions as given by our headlines on the dailies today. We might touch on one or two. But there's a story on the front page of the Daily Nation that talks about bribery scandal in the National Assembly. MP loses post in watchdog team. This story is on all the dailies, and on the Daily Nation it's covered on page 12, and that is page 14 rather, and that's where I want us to start this discussion today. So I can see there's a confusion. We do have that story covered here by TV47 as well. Let's watch this story to set the pace for our discussion.
A bribery storm is brewing in Parliament after a formal complaint by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission exposed alleged misconduct within a powerful House committee. The claims, now officially acknowledged by the Deputy Speaker, place the leadership of a key oversight committee under intense scrutiny. The complaint directly targets the committee chairperson Jack Wanami Wamboka, MP Bumula constituency, accusing him of misconduct in the handling of official parliamentary proceedings.
In order to safeguard public trust in the work of the Public Investments Committee or Governance and Education during the pendency of the inquiry, I'm further persuaded to suspend the Honorable Jack Wanami Wamboka, MP, from chairing the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education.
The complaint, formally submitted by Dr. Samuel Kobia, the outgoing NCIC Commission chairman, was addressed to the Speaker of the National Assembly in a letter dated July 23, 2025. It details a pattern of hostility and intimidation against NCIC officers during a committee session examining Auditor General reports on public investments for the year 2021-2022 and 2023-2024 financial years. Most critically, the Commission says it has credible information that the chairperson demanded bribes as a condition for granting audience or favorable consideration.
And as the Honourable Speaker has rightly held during this 13th Parliament, any allegation of corrupt practice, bribery or attempted bribery is a stain on the privilege of the institution of Parliament, which calls for expeditious investigation and action.
Despite the gravity of the allegations, the complaint reportedly went unaddressed for 9 months after it was first submitted to the Speaker in July 2025. The matter only resurfaced after a follow-up by Homa Bay Town MP George Peter Kaluma in April 2026, prompting its formal notification in the House. The allegations, if proven, will violate key legal frameworks including Chapter 6 of the Constitution on Leadership and Integrity, as well as the Public Office Ethics Act and the newly enacted Conflict of Interest Act.
Do not condemn all the members of that committee because the allegations are not against the entire committee. They are not against any other member of the committee other than the chairperson.
There are growing calls for a thorough and independent investigation into the conduct of the committee chairperson, protection of public officers appearing before parliamentary committees, and strict adherence to integrity and accountability standards within the House. The Deputy Speaker has since invited responses from members of the affected committee, setting a stage for what could become a major integrity test for Parliament. Faith Wangari, TV 47.
Yes, the Daily Nation has covered this story on page 14, where the suspended chairperson of that committee, Mr. Amboka, in his defense says he was not given time to defend himself, which goes against the principles of fair administrative action. He also attributed his suspension to differences with Speaker Moses Wetangula. Okay, that's according to the Daily Nation and how they've covered the story. But it raises other questions as well. Allegations of extortion, bribery within the Houses of Parliament is not a new thing. President William Ruto talked about it last year. We are aware of the push by governors not to respond to summonses by the Senate over similar allegations, and they also named people who they accuse of attempts to extort them. Now, it has gotten to a point where many Kenyans were wondering, okay, fine, what next? The president said it, it's happening in the Senate, now it's happening in the National Assembly. Does it give you any sort of confidence to see this kind of action taken against a person accused of bribery or even harassment on the level of a chair of a committee in the National Assembly?
Well, thank you, Fred, and once again, thank you for having me. It is such a bad state of to watch this kind of news, especially coming from a house where we depend on it on many other things, including registrations that have been passed there. There have been a lot of complaints from that house, and especially from, it started way back, even when the impeachment of the former deputy president was happening, when the allegations that a lot of money was, circulating for that particular impeachment to be able to happen. But now this comes as a wake-up call, to Kenyans, with the kind of people they've been entrusting on such an important house, and especially both houses. So we cannot afford to continue having a country where even the only institution that is supposed to safeguard people, it's corrupt to the core. I mean, if you see all these kind of allegations and people being kicked out now, which we didn't see, previously, and I would say some of these actions are actually very conveniently being done to try and create a different sort of image of the house and things like that. I mean, what else is left for Kenya? What else is left for the Kenyans themselves? Kenyans need to wake up and understand the importance of these two houses. Mm-hmm. Kenyans need to understand the caliber of people they need to be elected to these two houses. Going forward, instead of us waiting for the news to, to come out on how our house is. First and foremost, I say, it's about the process. Mm-hmm. What is the process of electing people to Parliament? You cannot purport to be having a faulty vehicle when you yourself, know very well that you made a faulty one. Mm-hmm. From the word go. this country needs to change. They need to go back to the factory settings altogether.
Yes.
For us to be able to have a working house, a house like, in a parliament that is working, it needs to start with the manner in which we identify individuals that goes to parliament.
Okay.
The idea of thinking that a guy who bribed his way through across will go to parliament and change, what miracle are you expecting?
Okay.
Because I'm saying this so that I can run it. I believe this problem of parliament starts with the way we pick individuals that goes to represent us in parliament. And if we do not change that particular process on how people are elected and identified by the Kenyans to go to parliament, we're still going to see this even in the next parliament.
Right. And even public perception with regard to the Houses of Parliament, it was very obvious that Kenyans have very little confidence in the Houses of Parliament, hence the events that transpired on June 24th, 2024, when protesters invaded Parliament. There are serious questions about public trust and legitimacy of this House. Does the action taken by the Speaker yesterday in suspending the MP Wamboka give you any more confidence? Or do you say, like the person who's been accused himself, that this is simply a witch hunt because of political differences?
No, thank Fred. Actually, I thought lawyers were going to come arms up saying mtu wetu is targeted, the normal Kenyan way of defending corruption and corrupt leaders. But I think largely what we've seen with Bunge, both the Senate and Parliament, is not something isolated. It's not new. Let me put it like that. It's not new to us. We have seen Parliament largely becoming a marketplace of influence, if I may say, where people bargain for favors through different parliamentary committees. We have seen ministries complain, state agencies complain. The other day it was governors. In fact, they're so adamant that they're now not going even to appear before the senators. So it is a time bomb for us. And we are losing trust with the parliament, and when we lose trust with parliament, and we are going to throw democracy out the window. Because why? When we lose trust with our parliament is where we safeguard public interest and resources. These are people who oversee legislation, they oversee the executive, and also legislate some of these policies. So when we bribe your way for even a policy or any bill to pass, for example, then where does that leave the country? Are we going to continue seeing ourselves bribing our way through in each and everything, or this we should just accept that this has become a system that we now have to operate under this new system where we have to bribe our way through? So seeing what happened in Parliament yesterday, that the Deputy Speaker now pronounced suspension of Wambora's case, for me, it's not something that I would want to really celebrate, because we should ask ourselves, why did it take long, 9 months? The former chair of NCIC even left office. We have now new commissioners within NCIC. Are we going to see a similar trend, that something is brought before Parliament and then it takes forever for even a ruling to come out, or even a judgment of such kind to come out through the Speaker's panel? I think it's something that speaks to how immoral our social fabric is now, and how weak the structures are, that we really need to do something as Kenyans. And I'm happy that my friend here has spoken to how do we elect our leaders. So Sion here was in Parliament the other day. I think it was in the 12th Parliament? Yes, in 12th Parliament. This is not a new case to him. He'll tell you even during their tenure there were cases of corruption. But were they picked up and were they dealt with conclusively and actions taken? This speaks to our Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Is this the first attempt we are going to see in correcting corruption within our institutions? I want to believe more needs to be done.
Right.
More really needs to be done. And independency of constitutional offices like NCIC and others should be upheld. Because if we continue doing this and favors continues to pass through, then even Wambora will still, Wamboka Wamboka would still find himself with the very same leaders and bribe his way through again and gets another chair of another committee. And we've seen that happening. Even I think Senator Oroba has a case of where I need to pay. And it's not just about bribery, financial bribery. Other briberies, even women complain about other types of bribery. So we really need to relook into Chapter 6 and how do we enact that Chapter 6 so that very punitive penalties are levied upon individuals who are found culpable.
If we look at the legal and institutional framework, one would imagine that these allegations voiced by the president, voiced loudly enough by the Council of Governors, that they would at least institute a probe by the ESCC. Yet many Kenyans don't understand if at all members of parliament enjoy protection simply because they're members of parliament, even in such cases. You are a member of the National Assembly. Why don't we see ESCC becoming more active within the Houses of Parliament when the accusations and allegations are so obvious?
Contrary to what some Kenyans may think, Parliament and anything that wrongdoing by members of Parliament like corruption is not protected. And if anything, Parliament as an institution has got very, very strict rules that must apply to all members. And once there is evidence of any wrongdoing of whatever nature that risks not only the integrity of a member of Parliament, but that of the entire House, then Parliament will take very stern action, like we saw yesterday. So that's a house of rules. And as far as I'm concerned, when members of Parliament are being inducted, they are taken through a lot of processes, including personal conduct within the House and outside the House, because you must remain honorable all the time, whether in private or in public. Wherever you are not only restricted to carry that integrity and that honorable behavior, conduct, and demeanor at the House, at the National Assembly. Guests to the National Assembly, either those invited to represent their institutions, those invited to give statements, are strictly treated as important guests to the National Assembly. And they must be handled correctly, protected, and given the respect that they deserve. If it gets to a situation where a member of a committee or a chair of a committee is mishandling witnesses or guests of the National Assembly, that is a very serious breach of the rules of the House. And I was happy to see the Deputy Speaker make that pronouncement.
In your time in Parliament, did you ever see the DCI or the ESCC come into Parliament to actively investigate such an allegation? Because when the President spoke and made these allegations last year, he said he is a consumer of raw intelligence, meaning that he knew the truth. That pronouncement by the President itself should have triggered the DCI or the ESCC.
Such an action cannot be executed within the presence of Parliament by the DCI or criminal justice institutions. They can't. But Parliament itself.
So it is up to Parliament itself?
Yes, Parliament itself. And in the current constitution, it also has the Parliamentary Service Commission. It's a big institution in itself. It has its own rules. It can expel, it can suspend, it can call out, and it has its own instruments. It's a self-regulating institution. It has what ESCC has to take
Do you think that is part of the weakness?
Anybody. No. It's not a weakness. We have seen Parliament operate, and the speakers of the houses are actually the custodians of integrity and rules of the House. And once an allegation is made anywhere, even the statement made by the President, it should have stopped business in both houses so that the two houses can self-search. Where allegations are made against one or two individuals, then the two houses should stop and address that matter. Yeah, actually, the house should retreat and recheck itself. Right. What we saw about some senators trying to arrest a governor, that is not within the rules and procedures of the House, because members of Parliament are not police officers. And when they are guests of the House, I don't think they have that duty to harass anybody. Right. Because Parliament is a sacred entity anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Where legislation and businesses of the country are conducted.
Let's sample some of the views of our viewers on this issue that we are discussing. Do we have any feedback so far? Yes, Anne from Rongai says it's frustrating because every time there are allegations, nothing really happens. Wanaongea sana, but hakuna accountability. Are these leaders ever held responsible? Yes, according to Bwana Sosion, it clarifies that it's Parliament itself that has to investigate itself. Brian from Thika says, honestly, trust in leadership iko chini sana. Kila siku ni scandals tu. Kama Parliament yenyewe iko na allegations, sasa sisi wananchi tutakimbilia nani? Yeah. It's the same question we are asking. Yeah. And Faith from Nairobi anasema corruption is not just politics, ina affect maisha zetu directly. High cost of living, poor services, alafu unasikia viongozi wanahusika in such things. It's very disheartening. We saw what happened in the accusations against some senators. Yeah. No action has been taken so far. Pronouncement by the president, no action, months later. Then we see this one, 9 months after the said allegation, now the speaker takes action finally. It is very difficult to defend the speaker from this accusation, from the claim by Wamboka that it's simply political differences that have actually brought this to the fore. Don't you agree that if we leave it to the politics within Parliament, then it would be very difficult to differentiate between a proper pursuit of the truth and political rivalry?
You see, I've listened to what Honorable Sosioni have said, and it answers itself right there. When he says that Parliament is self-regulating, it is still boils back to who is in charge of Parliament. But Speaker Moses Wetangula in any way have not been representing what it is Parliament stands for. If you look at his conduct from when he was appointed, when he was elected in that position, he's been serving a particular line of power. He has not even been afraid of going and showing up to the rallies and talking about the government and things like that. I believe the Speaker of a National Assembly should be someone who is non-partisan, somebody who balances off things, in terms of how they conduct themselves. So Wamboka now trying to say that these are political differences that are being served, we may even be forced to believe him because of the former conduct. If you look at even previously in Orkarao, when there was a lot of complaints from people, it was said that you are not supposed to actually discuss an individual in Parliament without a substantive motion being moved, which is true. And I think there was a standing order that was actually quoted on that particular matter. But he has been allowing it to happen. He's been actually been superintending the same. Deputy Speaker is the one who actually read out that particular thing, Gladys Boss. She's the one who is now telling us and trying to fukuza Wamboka out of Parliament on an accusation. Previously, when Rigathi Gachagua was being impeached, herself in public acknowledged the fact that she was told to go to the house and chase someone. Ukisema niende pale nifanye hivi nitafanya. Herself. It boils down to conduct of individuals, Fred. I can guarantee you, this house will never serve Kenyans as long as we are going to use the same process that we used to elect them to power. Right. Because apparently, why would we be having the President of the Republic of Kenya call out the house as corrupt honorarily and say this house is corrupt, there's a problem with this house in terms of its conduct? Why would we have the governors come and tell us and tell the whole country in an official statement that we are being asked for bribes as we go to Senate? They are telling us what is happening. And the truth of the matter is that it happens, especially at the committee levels, depending on where you're going. By the time you are going to those parliament as the governors, you must first send a team ahead to go and first make things,
So this kind of reaction is selective?
It is absolutely selective. And it is just meant to play around with it's so timely that it is happening when we are getting to the final stretch of the campaigns. And now people need to clean themselves to show how good they are and how much they are taking action. There is nothing.
It's exactly,
that report came to Parliament 9 months ago.
Hold that thought there, Ikwa. It's exactly 7:minutes. We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll give the other two panelists time to conclude on this and whether or not we can differentiate between political rivalry and clear pursuit of justice. You're watching TV47 Breakfast.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning. You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunyuma.
Oh my God. He left me. Nitumie ni live.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa butu.
You're watching TV47 Breakfast. Welcome back as we continue wrapping up the conversation on what's happening in Parliament with the suspension of Jack Wamboka, who's the MP Bumula, from his position as a committee chairperson over allegations of bribery and harassment of NCIC commissioners. And yes, now we're trying to examine this latest action taken by the Speaker of the National Assembly and whether it comes out as a legitimate pursuit of justice or it just looks like Wamboka claims this is just political rivalry. Mimi na speaker tuelewani. Ndio maana nimefika hapa.
So when walikuwa wanaelewana, maybe that's when he was protected. So what really we need to deal with is political protection of these very corrupt legislators or leaders. So when now you stop aligning or your thoughts align or you align politically, then you now start seeing such cases which are isolated. We don't see them take actions even against the senators who were governors, Council of Governors even came out and gave a press about no action to date has been taken. That was very recent. And actually is interfering with the continuous work within the county governments because these counties cannot even be allocated funds. Some of them are in red flags because of corruption allegations. But then we are seeing this particular instance of Wamboka now being suspended because of an action that he took 9 months ago or before even 9 months ago, because the reporting came in July last year. But when was the action taken? When did he ask for bribe? So some of these things, just because they are not being spoken about, it doesn't mean they're not happening. We've heard of many, many cases where ministries even come out and equally complain that, no, we don't want to appear before this particular committee because the committee is extorting money from us. They're asking for, especially during budget making process, where for your budget to be put or passed, then you have to send people way before, just like he said, to see the committee members or the chair of those committees for whatever you want to be passed or some favors to be extended. But I think I want to look at it as mainly, someone would also look at it as political witch hunt. Why now? You'd ask yourself, why now? Is it the only one? I wish there were like 5 or 10 cases. He's saying we are going to suspend so-and-so, we are going to suspend so-and-so because of these corruption allegations. Once they are concluded, maybe they will resume your positions. But as at now, these are the actions we are taking against your conduct as a legislature. So it is a good move, yes, but we would also want to look at it like, why would we not feel it's a political witch hunt as the legislature claims? Because why take all this time? What took Honorable Kaluma, for example, to take 9 months to report this? He sat in that particular panel. He's one of the speakers in the speakers panel. So they're aware of some of these things that come before them. Why has it taken so long? And how many more others are being hidden just because probably it's through the same thing. They saw the speakers or the speakers panel team. So I think we need to be very sincere as a nation and say we have to put an end to political protection network that runs within our system or the institutions, where as long as you have a godfather somewhere, you can just go scot-free and with a corruption allegation and still manage your way through. We have seen even in the past where the most corrupt people are the ones still appointed in very influential positions. In fact, Kenyans were joking and saying, for Kenya, for you to be so and so in this country, then you have to be very corrupt. Because when you are corrupt, then you are appointed. When you are sacked, then you are appointed. So I think we really need to be very sincere when we take actions against these corruption dealings or allegations, and let the institutions which are mandated to carry out the investigations, and we see serious actions taken and very punitive actions or penalties levied upon these people. Otherwise, it will just be a story of every other day. Today is Wamboka, tomorrow it will be Eku and Rachel in Bunge, and you in Bunge or another person in Bunge. Because people think in Bunge is where people make money. Right. So they go there with their mindset, I am going to make money. Yes. So we really need to deal with that.
Soson, you must agree that this kind of action as taken against Bwana Wamboka is very rare. In both houses of parliament. Many allegations are made, and very few times do they follow through with such kind of action.
It is very rare, though late. That we agree. And there are some also that we've seen action that was expected to be taken has not been taken. Like when Council of Governors raise a complaint, it should be a matter of serious address by the same parliament, and they get down to verify whether it is true or not and give a public report that what they have established is either true or not true. So parliament also cannot cherry pick on whom to punish and whom not to punish, whom to protect and whom not to. So I think in the 13th parliament, they have a lot of duty to do a lot of things to answer to such questions that are coming from the public. And for Parliament is supposed to be blind to political groupings, partisanship, and anything else. And being blind, then it means it must uphold the honor of being honorable and the honor of the institution. And the people who visit as guests, either you are invited to appear before committees. Appearing before committees is not criminalization. It is actually availing information that would be useful to the House and that would be useful to the governance. Right. So I think that the 13th Parliament, some of the issues that the public have raised and other institutions have raised must be addressed. Right. It cannot be postponed. And indeed, very, very, very promptly. The institution that must lead with integrity is Parliament. That is not in doubt. And what I'm stating is not new. What I'm stating is a practice that has been there. I've been a member of Parliament. We've received witnesses and teams and leaders coming to present reports, including even lobbying for budget. You don't need to strain as a State Department or a ministry to lobby and use extra and official measures to get what you want. Right. Present your report, it's credible enough, give your arguments, and it is the duty of the committee to do what is right. Because what Parliament is doing, it is executing mandate on behalf of the citizens.
But who are we when the President himself confirms to us that, yes, these are houses full of corruption, both the Senate and the National Assembly. The Council of Governors say, and that's the next layer of governance in Kenya.
And in fact, when the President made that statement, the two houses should have paused now to discuss that particular matter. And you know, this points to the strategy of cleaning up everywhere in terms of corruption, cleaning up cartels. We've seen the President dealing with cartels decisively in the different sectors, and it's working. And this brings me to
we need to see more in Parliament. And we need to wind up this conversation.
Lin Kuan Yew of Singapore told the Singaporeans that keep the system clean, very strongly. All systems, everywhere, clean.
Probably that's
when
why
it
we're
is
saying
clean,
we're going to Singapore.
The country will prosper. And I think this is a moment we must not get tired talking about it.
Some more views from our viewers, because we need to interact with our viewers as well. They're also giving us their feedback. Let's sample. Peter from Kitengela says, until we start seeing real consequences, people resigning or being jailed, that's a consequence. Hii mambo haitawahi isha. Right now it feels like empty talk. Yeah, it does. James from Eldoret says, sometimes I feel like corruption imekuwa normalized. Watu wana expect to itatokea. That's dangerous because it means we've given up as a country. And Sharon from Kisumu, we need transparency. Kama kuna allegations, investigations zifanywe openly. Wakenya wanastahili kujua ukweli, sio stories za kufunikiwa. From Nakuru, Dennis says, leadership is about integrity. If viongozi wetu wanahusishwa na corruption, then what example are they setting for the youth? That's a question he asks. And Lucy from Mombasa, inauma kuona youth wakistruggle kupata jobs alafu pesa ya umma inaibiwa. Priorities zetu kama nchi zimeenda wapi? Anita, citizens pia tunafaa kuhold leaders accountable, tusinyamaze. Corruption inaumiza kila mtu, sio serikali pekee. This is Anita from Kakamega. Thank you so much for your feedback. Keep it coming. All our social media pages are open. TV47 Kenya on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. It is TV47 Digital on X. And yes, allow me to dock there in as far as that discussion about Parliament. But we are not stopping discussions around the houses of legislation, because you can see the Speaker of the National Assembly on the front page of the Daily Nation. Wetangula sparks row over MP's role in national IDs. This story also features there on the front page of Taifa Leo. Kura, Wetangula awasha moto. Agizo lake kwa wabunge kuwa wachukue vitambulisho vipya kisha wawapelekee wananchi katika maeneo bunge yao limekosolewa kama hatari, kwani mbali na stakabadhi hiyo kuwa katika hatari ya kusababisha changamoto za kiusalama, inaweza kutumiwa vibaya na wabunge hao kwa maslahi yao kibinafsi. This comes also as the opposition or members of the United Opposition have raised concerns about the voters register, and this is what they had to say. We'll come back and discuss the Speaker's directive as well. The story about the United Opposition talking about IEBC and voter registration.
This Wednesday, the opposition pitched camp in Kitui County, where they intensified attacks against the Kenya Kwanza government. It is here that former Attorney General Justin Muturi demanded immediate action from acting IEBC CEO Moses Sunkuli over what he termed as unauthorized voter transfers across polling stations.
Watu wanachukulia kura Nairobi, wakienda kuangalia wanakuta kura zao ziko Mandera, Garissa ama West Pokot. Hiyo ni njia moja ya kuhakikisha siku ya kupiga kura hawataweza kupiga kura.
DAPK party leader Eugene Wamalwa reinforced concerns over voter registration, going as far as naming a member of parliament he claims is registering foreign nationals.
Waangalie jamaa anaitwa Robert Pokose, mbunge wa Endebess. Tunajua wako wanaandikisha watu Uganda kule Sebei, wanapeana kadi za Kenya kwa watu wasio wa Kenya.
As a result, the opposition is now demanding that the IEBC convenes an urgent stakeholder meeting to resolve these issues.
You cannot keep quiet when people are raising issues. Every day, IEBC just issues a statement. We don't want a statement. We want a meeting, a multi-stakeholder meeting involving all parties, all stakeholders in electoral matters.
Beyond IEBC issues, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua joined the offensive, sharply criticizing President William Ruto over his complaints about social media criticism.
Sasa nimemwona Italy analia, msiangalie mambo ya mtandao, watu ya mtandao muendelee, Kasongo is feeling the heat. He is crying in Italy ati wasikize mtandao. Hii mtandao ndio dawa ya Kasongo, muendelee kuinject na kumwanika. Na Kasongo tunakuambia, kabla utoke Italy, tafadhali tafuta Pope akuombee upunguze uongo.
Unanimously, the opposition now says it will call for countrywide protests until President Ruto addresses the grievances of Kenyans. Meanwhile, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is demanding the immediate release of those arrested during demonstrations over high fuel prices.
Peaceful demonstration, wameshika vijana 11 kiholela. Nimemweleza Senator Maanzo, angekuwa na sisi hapa. Senator Makueni, nimemwambia ende atoe watoto kwanza 11.
The opposition's tour of Ukambani region continues into its second day on Thursday. Sydney Chazema, TV47.
Issues around the trust deficit on the electoral legitimacy have arisen. Now, these two different stories, but still pointing out to the same. Voter registers, what MPs are doing or not doing across borders, and people getting IDs where they should not, because the same IDs are key in voter registration. And then this directive by the Speaker to members of Parliament to be the ones to go collect new IDs and distribute them at the constituency level. Clearly, 15 months to the elections, these are not the kind of conversations we should be having. Bonaikua.
Yes. Actually, I need to caution ourselves on the conduct that we are finding ourselves every day doing. We need to be aware that when clearly it's showing as if we are trying to do things that erodes the public trust as far as the coming election is concerned, it is obviously now going to, animonize everything around people's and expectations thereof. If you look at the issues of the ID, first and foremost, there are two things. The uncorrected IDs that the Speaker Tangura was talking about that needs to be taken to the people. The question is, because there are so many people watching us from home, why haven't you not corrected your ID? And why do you need your MP to come and bring it to you at home? What is your responsibility as a Kenyan or as a citizen in terms of ensuring that we have good governance and you have good government in place? Why would you want us to complain every day and you are not correcting your ID? That means you are not even registered as a voter, because without your ID you are not going to vote. So let's call out Kenyans to correct the IDs themselves. Otherwise, why would we be having thousands and thousands of IDs and we are still complaining because registration of new IDs is not happening? Because that's another problem we are having. Registration of the new IDs is becoming a very big process. I've received a lot of calls from people. They are sending their kids to go and register, and the kids are being turned away for 2, 3, 4 days. I mean, let me tell you, Fred, what happens is that the economy has, imefinya watu sana to an extent that when you are told to go to, correct your ID to register your ID for 3, 4, 5 times, most people cannot afford to go to those particular registration center 3 or 4 or 5 times. So that's where the problem is coming. So whenever you hear people complain, it's because of the economic status where someone is not served the first day they appear, and then they are told to come back tomorrow. Then they come back again, and they are spending some transport money and things like that, something that is not readily available. But let's come to the IEBC. We are looking at these things. It's very suspicious on how the government is conducting itself on this matter, and especially the IEBC. And the IEBC needs to know you may be employed by someone, but the responsibility you have is not on that particular person. You have a responsibility of a country. It doesn't matter who nominated you to the position. The responsibility changed the day you took an oath on that particular independent office. And I'm saying that because I don't understand what happened, because there was some sort of clarification that happened. But even those who were registered before, when you went to check your status 2 weeks later, some of the details within your response were appearing and what they were calling not applicable. They were coming as NA. So your polling station is no longer there. But they came back and said the reason as to why that is happening, I was in a meeting with a commissioner, one of the commissioners from the IEBC, and they said the reason as to why that is happening is because now the register is being updated. That is why this is happening. Once they are done with the registration of with the updating of the register, everything is going to come back to normal. That's why you are finding yourselves doing whatever. But I understand. Why was I in Nyandarua yesterday and today I am in West Pokot? What is the system giving me? Or what is the system showing me? Who is this trying to interfere? Because if someone appears on 8th of August to vote on their polling station that they are duly registered, and they find that they are registered in West Pokot, are they required to go to West Pokot? Those things are going to actually bring a lot of issues and a lot of chaos. If IEBC allows itself to get into that particular position, there will be chaos on the election day.
Okay.
And there is a possibility of even elections actually, and I think that could be the intention. Why would I not assume that that is the intention of government, to bring that kind of confusion, and then all of a sudden we cannot be able to have a verifiable register of, of voter register. So what's going to happen?
It should be noted that the mass voter registration exercise comes to an end in the next 5 days.
Yes.
IDs are very important. According to records, about 500,000 IDs remain uncollected. By those numbers, and looking at constituencies, those are numbers that could tilt the vote one way or another. Yeah. Some constituencies have about 30,000 voters. Now, by the speaker saying that MPs should be peaking these ID cards, that's giving an MP who's probably running for re-election an advantage, don't you think? We've heard what accusations the opposition are making against some members already, that they're registering people even across the border.
Of course, it gives them a hedge over any other competitor, one, and it is even wrong, even for Speaker Wetangula to announce something like that, because it's not within their jurisdiction to go dishing out IDs, and it appears like a favor. Remember, there are people who've lived for the longest just because of one issue or the other, why they couldn't take up or register as a national or as a citizen, of Kenya. So giving MPs an opportunity to give out IDs gives them an edge over any other competitor that they have. And we have a lot of, we have administrative structure. We can use the chiefs, we can use assistant chiefs, we can use the village elders to distribute these IDs. Why don't they just put them together and say this particular one comes from maybe Bondo constituency, these are from Central Sakwa Ward, these are from West Imbo, and such like, so that you just give them to the various chiefs and then they distribute, which is actually their work. They're the people helping mobilize even people to uptake IDs. They're the people mobilize voters, they're the people helping with all these processes. How come now when it comes to giving out IDs, now you want to involve the members of parliament? Are you trying to give them an edge over their competitors? What are you sending out? Where is the space of impartiality? Where's the space of transparency in the whole process? Are we seeing other stakeholders also involved? Are you going to say, because you are 5 people vying in this particular constituency, so we are calling all of you, take up these IDs and go distribute, so that there's fairness in the distribution, so that someone doesn't feel like, okay, this person is giving us a favor or doing us a favor by bringing to us what IDs at our doorsteps. So I think we really need to look at how do we want our structures to work? Do we empower the structures to work for us, or do we want to manipulate the process to favor certain people, certain individuals, or certain whatever outcome that we would want? Because as Ikuwa said, given that this is a government working now, such actions may be taken, as he says, to favor the system. If it is true that that particular Mjumbe is giving out IDs to other citizens from other countries, then that is wrong, and action should be taken. But I don't think if we've reached that level where now we want to import voters from other countries to vote in the country, to vote for us.
At the constituency level, the difference in a contest is usually about 200, 300 votes.
Very, very true. Yeah. For constituency level, that is very, very true. But I want to look at it in a bigger perspective. Remember, even last year, in the last general election, the voting, the BAMBA, quote unquote, they claim that BAMBA was defeated by only 200,000. Here we are talking about 500 IDs not being picked, 500,000 yes, not being picked. That is a big margin win if anyone was to get that constituency to vote for them. But I don't want us to narrow it like now we are looking at MCAs importing. Of course, importation of voters has been there. That's why they say, who wants to transfer? Why then do they bring the issue of transfer of voters? Because they expect you today, maybe you want to support him. So you will move from where you want to vote, you are usually voting, and go support Rachel in Bondo. So that is allowed. But then, have they put up structures and limitations who then can be transferred and who cannot be transferred? Before you say that, why are you transferring voters? So voter importation is there within one constituency to the other, to other counties. We've seen that happen in the past. But I think it just talks to what structures are there within IEBC framework to bar or to deter such things. Okay. So that we don't just fault an institution for taking up a wrong direction, whereas that is enshrined within their framework or within the policies that they're using. But then I'm also thinking what we are seeing with the members, the citizens themselves. You go register to take up an ID, and then you are told your ID is ready and you don't want to go pick it. Why are you not picking it? Why do we have 500,000 people not picking up the ID?
And probably the reason why the speaker is keen on ensuring that they actually get to the people, don't you think?
That is okay. Ensuring to get to the people is very okay. I'm not saying that is wrong, but the process.
The directive
How are they
by the speaker?
Yes, the directive is what is wrong. It shouldn't go through the MPs.
Okay. Has this...
Those particular IDs should be taken to the local administrative offices, which are the chiefs, to distribute.
Okay.
They know for sure Rachel comes from this particular home. Not the MP to go say, oh, Abir, nimekuja, nimewaletea, you know? No. That would be looked at as unfairness in the whole spectrum of
Does
election.
this sound like a familiar directive to you who has sat in the National Assembly?
You know, the problem that we have in Kenya is that we create phantom issues and we take a whole time discussing something that may not be very relevant as such. I don't know how that information was caught, and I really don't know how Speaker Wetangula spoke about it, because as far as I know, a legislator has no control, nor even in possession of the IDs. That's a fact for sure. But a problem has been identified, non-collection of IDs. Let's all agree.
Wacha ni nukuu gazeti hili la Taifa Leo sababu you've questioned how the story is. Anasema akizungumza bungeni mnamo Jumanne, Bwana Wetangula aliwataka wabunge kuchukua jukumu kubwa zaidi katika kuhakikisha vitambulisho vinawafikia wanaoomba kuvipata. Alisema ni wajibu wao kutumia wafanyikazi walio katika ofisi za maeneo yao kusaidia kusambaza vitambulisho hivyo.
Yes, the nukuli, the way you have quoted makes more sense than the way it's portrayed. Because if Parliament has identified non-collection of IDs as a factor of slow registration, and parliamentarians have been urged to exercise responsibility and mobilize collection, that is mobilizing collection. It doesn't mean the MPs or their office staff will go and collect IDs literally and distribute to the people. It's
so
a matter of...
We are misreading the speaker's intention.
I think that is serious misinterpretation. And what needs to be done, and I read what
Wetangula should be the role of Ministry of...
Probably we try it in English.
No, listen, because we create wrong information and we discuss wrong information and waste a lot of time. I think what Wetangula intended was that we should mobilize and ensure that those IDs reach the owners. And I think from what my fellow panelist is suggesting here, because we know the IDs are property of the Ministry of Interior. And of course, what we may need is last mile distribution methods.
Let me use English. Let me quote it in English. Speaking in the House on Tuesday, Mr. Wetangula told MPs to take a more active role in ensuring IDs reach applicants. Quote, as a parliamentary service commission, I employ staff for you in your field offices. You have a duty to use the staff we pay to assist in delivering those IDs to your constituencies. And
assist.
In delivery.
Assist.
Not to mobilize collection.
To assist.
In delivery of IDs.
This is where you media, you go wrong. You know, you interpret something and you want to force it and you want to be so consistent.
I'm just quoting.
Assisting does not mean going to collect. And let us not waste a lot of time debating about it.
We are talking about delivery of IDs.
Let us not waste a lot of time debating about MPs or their staff collecting, because that is not what the speaker meant. What is meant is that can the IDs be distributed and be transmitted to the owners and take responsibility in ensuring that. That does not mean you're going to collect. What it means is that check how many IDs are in the registration officers, what can be done for those IDs to be taken to the owners.
But,
and that brings in the symbologics of understanding here.
But let's get it clear. What you're saying is you do not agree that MPs should be used to deliver IDs or parliamentary.
It will not happen.
So if at all that was a directive by the Speaker, it is wrong. If at all.
Absolutely wrong.
No, that directive was not there. That directive was not there. That's a fact. Let us not waste Kenyans' time discussing wrong things. The problem here, the IDs that are uncollected have 1 million.
You know,
I think what should happen.
I just want to
can we have a more effective administrative mechanism of ensuring that the owners of the IDs get the IDs?
That is not.
And once they get the IDs,
yes.
They can proceed and
hold on. That is not what the Speaker said. When Sosion is trying to defend the Speaker
I'm not defending
overstepped his mandate. He was supposed to actually summon because the Parliament has power to summon the Minister of Interior to come and ask why are these IDs not being taken to the ground where the people have applied them. If we can give all those IDs to assistant chiefs, an assistant chiefs receiving 10 IDs knows the owner. They know the house. Why is he holding those things and staying with them there? What do they have? The Speaker was supposed to actually summon the Minister of it, but of course you know he can't. That minister is more senior than the Speaker himself. So that is exactly why he cannot. That is exactly why he cannot summon him.
The CS Interior was in the house. The CS Interior was in the house yesterday.
Let me say something.
Nobody's a second.
You should have told him.
You are saying the right thing.
It was very simple.
You are saying the right thing,
You should have told him.
Let's allow him, then I'll come.
Allow me to finish. What we are saying, does it mean that the Ministry of Interior does not have the mechanism of distribution of these particular IDs? If we have identified a need of redistributing back the IDs to the lowest cadre thereof, in terms of to the door, if we have to, and even look for these people, the person who can be able to do that is the assistant chief and the chief thereof. That is this mechanism of government that is able to do that. Because he has already told us that the staff in the NCDFs and everywhere else that have been employed by the Speaker,
Parliamentary staff,
I'm not supposed to. What facilitation are they supposed to give thereof if it was not to correct the IDs and take them to the chiefs?
Yeah.
You understand? So we keep on confusing roles here when we have individuals who do not understand what exactly are they supposed to do. That particular problem is very simple.
All right.
If the government, if the minister, can you say the Minister of Interior does not have the money to do that? Now that they require the assistance of the MPs and their offices, they have the money.
The provincial administration is
absolutely,
yes.
And they can do that very easily.
Yes, Rachel, you wanted to add something.
That's what I wanted to say. That I think there are ministries mandated with the different responsibility, and this one is vested upon Ministry of Interior. And so what Speaker needed to have done was just to summon the CS or the PS to just ensure that there's distribution of IDs through the mechanisms of administrative whatever that they have within their ministry. So we don't have to belabor this point that. But what we agree upon is that Speaker Wetangula was wrong. That one we can't defend.
When association does not agree.
That one we can't defend. By merely telling them, I agree that as politicians we mobilize. Even me today, there are people, my team are there in Bondo, mobilizing collection and mobilizing registration. So that we have them, after you've registered, can you ensure that you take up your ID? But it is not my responsibility to go pick and deliver at your doorstep that this we are doing, because it will be looked at as a favor. And you know, some of these people have waited for these IDs forever. Right. So when this happens, then what happens? People, you are at the mercy of the person who gave you the ID.
Others are not aware.
Yeah.
So I think we've wrapped up that discussion.
That one.
Association, you want to labor your,
at the end of the day,
your defense of the Speaker.
We still argue differently, but still say the same thing.
Yes. If at all it was a directive, it was wrong.
At the end of the day, no, it wasn't a directive. It was an advisory. Yeah. It was an advisory.
So you believe that Parliament has a role
because
in
members of Parliament,
distribution of IDs?
Members of Parliament have a responsibility of representation and, of course, oversight. Within the context of representation, you can mobilize at the grassroots. Within the context of oversight, you can summon. So we are still saying the same thing. So use both methods. What works is what will carry the day.
I don't think you'll agree
so fundamentally,
with
I'm actually agreeing with him.
Yeah,
in terms of representation,
right.
you can mobilize.
Mobilize.
And that's what
not
the
deliver ideas.
In terms of oversight,
in
terms of oversight, you can summon. And
very
I want
briefly,
to say,
so that we
Fred, I want to allay fears, because we don't need to tell Kenyans that some officers in this country are immune and they cannot even be summoned to Parliament. All ministries and all ministers can be summoned to Parliament, including the CS Interior. As far as I know, the CS Interior was in Parliament yesterday to answer questions, to answer the questions. So nobody is special in this country in terms of our governance structure. And if a proposal is that Parliament should summon CS Interior on purposes of IDs and the rest, so that be it. But that question needs to be raised by a member of Parliament.
Yes.
So let's not waste time distorting facts.
Very briefly, because
I just want to mention something.
The media should not sensationalize by distorting information, so that we waste time discussing wrong things.
I have had one association, but I need to say something. Most Kenyans are not even aware that those IDs are ready for correction. We have a very confused system where you even receive an SMS or that SMS that they send you to go and correct your ID 5 months, 6 months after it was ready for correction. Sometimes, and I've seen this, you could receive that particular SMS after you have even corrected. There's a lot of confusion. So actually, the majority of those people could not be aware that their IDs are ready. So we need to ensure that the government systems are efficient, such that when an SMS comes and tells you that you need to correct your ID, it is ready. Most of the people could not be aware that their IDs are ready.
I think we are expecting too much from the government also as Kenyans. We also need to take up our responsibility. Yes. Whenever you go to apply for an ID, immediately you ask, when should I collect it? They tell you a week or so. It is your responsibility to go now and check. Why are you waiting for an SMS a month or 3 later?
I told you Kenyans don't have money.
No,
Kenyans
it's not about money.
To going to the provincial.
No, I think we're expecting too much from the government. No, we are
and you go there 5 times, 10 times, and you have been told it's not ready.
There's just so much that the government can do. It is also our responsibility. Yes.
Today's issue was what those two papers have quoted as being a directive by the Speaker, and I think that was a subject. We've addressed that one. As we end the show, let's talk about the season of politics and the emergence of new political parties. There's a lot of reorganization going on. A lot of contestations, both in the united opposition, in the proposed coalition or the anticipated coalition between UD and ODM, and now the 93rd political party was registered this week. People's Renaissance Movement. Yes. Let's watch this story and then come back and discuss this reorganization.
The office of the Registrar of Political Parties was filled with pomp and colour as supporters of the latest political outfit in town, linked to Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna-led Leader Mwananchi faction, the People Renaissance Movement Party jubilated the registration of the new party that brings the number of registered political parties in the country to 93.
You are coming into a crowded street. There are already existing shops here. You are now the 93rd shop that is coming on board. And all of them have been receiving customers in different ways. You really have to find a way of making sure your office becomes very special, that everybody wants to buy from your shop and not from the other shops.
Sources within PM Party say Saboti MP Caleb Amisi is behind the new outfit, backed by 27 sitting members of parliament. The leaders, however, cannot declare allegiance to the new outfit while still in ODM, as it would go against the Political Parties Act.
We understand that Kenya is a youthful nation. Why? Because 75% of our population is below 35. That is not to say that we are aligning ourselves with Linda Mwananchi. However, if Linda Mwananchi want to be our friends, who would hate friends of that nature? Would you?
The party, whose symbol is a hummingbird and whose colors are predominantly white and blue, says it's a people's movement driven by the youth and aimed at liberating Kenyans from a poor economy, as well as fixing the education and health sectors. It also seeks to safeguard the constitution and distance itself from traditional politicians.
Don't categorize us with one term or two term. We are here as the third and the only force that will save Kenyans from the problems they are facing currently.
But for the first time, Kenyans have given themselves a party. And that is why in front of you, you are not seeing your usual political faces.
The Renaissance is not just any political party. We are not going to be screaming on rooftops and dancing on buses. What we are going to do is offer deliberate change.
An attempt by promoter Charles Wanyonyi to legally secure the name Linda Mwananchi was rejected by the Registrar of Political Parties, who argued that it closely resembles other slogans such as Linda Kenya and Boresha Kenya, effectively handing the Sifuna team victory. The registration of the new kid on the block, the PM party, is seen as a safe haven and a bargaining chip for the Linda Mwananchi camp ahead of the 2027 general election. Apul Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Yes, 15 months to the next general election, more parties, 93 in total, are now registered. But the question is it more of the same, or is this really a new outfit that we could say, fine, will reawaken probably the youth vote or something like that? Because if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it most probably is one. And even according to that report, all fingers are pointing to the same people. So is a new party really the solution? Because it would appear with every election cycle, each, or at least a majority of the politicians need a new vehicle, not what they ran for previously.
Well, you know, it's good to know that in our political culture in this country, how we have set our table in terms of negotiations and in terms of, coalitions, everybody is asked, what are you bringing to the table? So whenever a discussion of power is happening right now and negotiations are just about to start, you will be asked, what are you coming with? So if we associate this PM party with Linda Mwananchi, whom are already fighting for a space within ODM, I would doubt, because they have already pronounced themselves in Nakuru rally, that they are still strongly within ODM. So I don't understand, but sometimes it's good to have what we call an option B, a fallback plan. In the any unlikely event that they do not secure, and I call it an unlikely event, that they do not secure the party, ODM, as it is. We've seen it right from 2007 when Kalonzo and Maanzo bolted out with the party, and they were called ODM Kenya, and then these ones were called the Orange Democratic Movement. I think they have this name movement a lot. We can see the name movement circulating around that particular thing. But what I need to say is this: alignments are just about to happen. There is a context that is on the way, and it is everybody's interest who want to go into any negotiation table to be able to arrive with something that they hold and they call theirs. In our community, we say you cannot hang your coat in somebody else's house.
Like happened in 2022.
Like happened in 2022, and that's why the Sosioni and his party are celebrating after chasing everybody else out who they thought was a stranger in that house. So basically what is happening is that people will continue need a rebuttal for that? Hold on, you'll have your chance. People will continue aligning themselves and forming new parties. But basically, what does the country really need? That was your question. Is it new parties? Is it new movement? Or is it the change of mind? Is it the change of intention? Because I've heard those people say, these are new faces. This is, we are deliberately coming into changing and offering their solution. Because apparently before, we've seen a lot of, parties. We are 93 already.
Same faces, 93. All the parties.
But utasikia sasa watu wakisema farasi ni wawili, hizo zingine ni punda, and all those kind of things. Trying to just, paint someone as not important. Somebody is trying to reduce your value, so that by the time you arrive on the table, your negotiation comes, you reduce your expectations. That's the whole thing. So it's a game, and the game happens, and what needs to happen, the cards are the political parties. And that is why you can see ODM is also very confused on their relationship with UDA. And they're saying, no, how can we, stop something that have not started? They're telling us that it has not stopped. There is a lot happening behind the curtains. If you see the Mombasa team and the way they are running themselves and the complaint of zoning and things like that, it is still the political game and what you call the popularity of a party, and the relevance of the party, so that it can remain as big or bigger than it was.
Yes.
such that when it arrives on the table, it will have a huge negotiation.
And I'm looking at the front page of the People Daily, and it's making reference to the president and what he wants. And it's talking, the headline is why Ruto wants a new political vehicle for 2027. Not necessarily something new, but he may not necessarily go for the polls, according to this paper, with Kenya Kwanza.
He already
rebranded. One big party UDA, collapse everyone.
He already rebranded. Look at his cap.
What is the need?
Look at his cap. He's the one who, he has already rebranded.
Apart
the
from
president
ODM,
will not go with Kenya Kwanza.
Apart from ODM ratio,
Kenya Kwanza
we've not had any other party that has actually lived beyond 1-2 electoral cycles. ODM at least has been there for the last 4 or 5 elections.
Yes.
These are the parties that are coming in, 93 in total. Do they mean anything to Kenyans?
Actually, I was just wondering why Yvonne would even come out and say this is a new phase. It's not new phase, and teams Caleb, Hamisi, Sifuna, they are hiding behind this PM party. This is something that Hamisi started even way before Baba died. He kept talking about it, that this would happen. Kenya needs a renaissance. He kept talking about it, and now it has come to pass. That actually was pushing for, and that's why they're adamant even in telling us, if you don't want us, we can always get away. I mean, and we've told them, now let me be the politician here from ODM, we've told them it is okay. I mean, we've seen people come and go. Sosian here was a member of ODM before, and so many people came and went. So even them, they'll just come and go, and other people will join the party. But we are in that space, a political space, where now we are seeing realignment and movement and people changing. And the president, I mean, we already rebranded Kenya Kwanza a long time ago. And we now have a broad-based government. And going forward, I think the president would want to vie under broad-based government.
According to my understanding, the coalition talks are yet to start, and so ODM still remains a party. But
no, there's no.
The president's desire would be all these parties fold up, and you all join UDA.
Of course we can't. ODM is bigger than UDA. How can ODM fold up for UDA? With all honesty and fairness, why would you fold up your house to get into a hut? It just doesn't work.
You just described the ruling party as
It just does not work. How would you, destroy your mansionette to get into a hut? It doesn't work. Just because your husband lives in that house. No, that doesn't work.
Wait.
That doesn't
it's
work.
It's no longer a hut. We remove even
so the truth before God is this. The truth is we're in that space. And folding up political parties is killing democracy. And I don't think Kenyans want that as well. Okay. We fought too much for this space.
So the more the parties, let's get to 100.
Let's get to 100. Let's get to 200 if people want that. But we've also seen many of this. You've talked about 93. But as he said earlier, we'll only, towards the very tail end of this whole space, we are going to see only 2 or 3 major political parties fighting out. Right. And when you get into a coalition, it doesn't mean you fold up. The people who folded up their party like ANC is because how many members of parliament does ANC have?
Okay.
Ask yourself that. So the people who folded up their parties to join UDA was because of their strength. They are so weak. So a stronger political party, you'll have your time. A stronger political party would not want to fold their party to join a political party just because they're in government. Okay. But you're going to fight for your space. And the stronger you are, and you're safeguarding your stronghold, that is the strength you're going to political party table and coalition agreement with. But if you go there as a weakling, then what are you going to push for?
Do you see this split now, the Linda Mwananchi, if at all it's true that they're behind this new party, that could in fact weaken ODM as it were?
I really don't think so, because there are other people who are also joining ODM.
Ooh.
And we've seen even people moving from UDA coming to ODM. They are there. You go check. They are there. And I can give you an example. Even Engineer Gumbo just left UDA to come back to ODM.
What is he bringing? Yeah.
Of course, he's coming to ODM because ODM is stronger where he wants to vie. So it's really not about what are you bringing sometimes. But politics is a game of interest. So is it working for me? So the people who are moving from maybe UDA to ODM or even from ODM to other parties is because is it working in the context of where I'm going to
strong parties would not be demanding for zoning. That is a sign of weakness. That is an argument by some.
I think what ODM is trying to do is just speak about zoning. But zoning has always been there. Let us just be sincere. Zoning has always been there. Even in the 2022 general election, even with our coalition partners within Azimio coalition, there are places we never fielded candidates. Why? Because we zoned out. Even before we get into this coalition agreement with UDA, as it is now, we've already zoned out. UDA has already zoned out presidency. So what are we talking about?
All right.
Yeah, so it's just being sincere and telling Kenyans what is zoning all about and why do we want it?
I think, Fred, just as I said, you, the media, you're very keen in creating phantom and to keep Kenyans busy discussing what I would call completely non-consequential.
Is it non-consequential when it's 15 months to the election, discussing a political party?
On this issue of the political parties, so that you can understand where Kenya is, and particularly the president. The president has established a broad-based government that is beyond Kenya Kwanza. It is a fact. It's a fundamental fact. And the evolution of political parties in Kenya, even if we register today additional 10 political parties, with respect to 2027, they will enter into a coalition with one group of the other.
A coalition or one bigger party that swallows others?
No.
That
business of swallowing is a phantom story you are creating.
It's reality.
Cause confusion.
ANC had
to cause confusion.
ANC had to close shop.
That was voluntary decision by ANC. A party can decide to fold up.
They were forced.
It cannot be
By
forced.
who?
They were forced.
It cannot be forced.
By their
now,
boss.
allow me. It's my time. With respect to 2027, and with respect to the president, he will contest elections and mark this. Of course, it will be a one-horse race versus donkeys. That's a fact. And the formation of a coalition, is almost 3/4 done. The coalition between Kenya Kwanza team, which brings in UD and others.
So you disagree with her assessment that Kenya Kwanza is no longer an entity, okay, at least for the purposes of the next election?
Not disagreed. Listen, the Kenya Kwanza uniting with ODM is a reality. It is almost 3/4 or 80% done. When you're talking about zoning,
our understanding is that it's not Kenya Kwanza ODM, it's UDA ODM.
You want to create stories? No. It is Kenya
Kwanza.
It is Kenya Kwanza. But
there's nothing.
Kenya Kwanza and ODM.
There's nothing.
Yes.
Kenya Kwanza.
Kenya Kwanza
and
UDM. And the party leader of UDA, President William Ruto, is a member of a political party called UDA. He is the party leader of UDA. And he has taken initiative to engage with ODM. And don't forget, he was a Pentagon member of ODM. That's a fact. So, and these two parties...
Please clarify on that issue of Kenya Kwanza, because there are other constituent parties within Kenya Kwanza.
There are other constituent parties within Kenya Kwanza, and they're within the broad-based. They were already there within Kenya Kwanza. And when ODM joined in...
The MOU that they signed was
but
between
the leader
UDA
of Kenya Kwanza is
and
President
ODM.
William Ruto.
Where is Kenya Kwanza in this broad-based arrangement?
You are just putting a telescope where you are not going to see what you are looking for. What you will see is broad-based coalition. Remove that lens and stop wasting time. There will be broad-based coalition. And when you're talking about zoning, I agree with that. Zoning has happened automatically. In the by-election that we've witnessed, did you see UDA field a candidate in Kasipul? Did you see UDA field a candidate in Magarini? Did you see UDA field a candidate in this constituency in Siaya? In Ugunja, in Siaya? They did not. Right. Did you see ODM field a candidate in Malava? Did you see ODM field a candidate in Bere North? Did you see ODM field a candidate in Baniza or in Baringo? They did not. So there is already an automatic equilibrium on how to approach the 2027 elections. And 2027 election is about resounding re-election of President William Ruto and formation of a coalition government that brings in ODM as it has
without
done now.
Parties folding up necessarily.
No, without parties
the parties will not fold up, and we have seen the president.
So we are disagreeing with this headline on the front page of the
paper. We have seen the president Fred. The president attended the celebrations of ODM. And he donned the colors of ODM.
Yeah. Allow me to give you each 60 seconds because of time.
The president address gatherings in ODM zones, and he has respectfully accepted ODM members to don their colors. We must learn to
because of time. Because of time, 60 seconds.
He's taking our time.
And talking of parties, Jubilee and DCP apparently are disagreeing on who to field or which party to field a candidate in the Olkalau election.
And we are very clear that if Jubilee would want to field a candidate in Olkalau, they can go ahead and do it. This is a democratic country, as he said, and we have
no zoning.
No zoning. If they want to come and field a candidate, let them go ahead, because we know Olkalau is done. That is DCP. That is DCP. And that one you can take to the bank. But I need to respond to Mwalimu Sioni.
Yes.
It is very unfortunate.
As you make a final word.
Yeah. It is very unfortunate, and you need to apologize to the president for referring to his party as donkey. Because when you say that this party has one horse and several donkeys, you know very well that the president is going home and the United Alternative Government is the horse in the race. So when you refer to his party as donkey, you've already declared that you're going to lose. But I need to also agree with him on one thing. That is what he said. It is my time. I have 60 seconds. You need to apologize.
Time is running.
No, it's my time. You need to apologize because you might be.
But you are the first one who actually said you're going to have two horses and a donkey. You are the first one to say that earlier.
I was very honest.
Our time is up.
So even him is honest.
You are interrupting my 60 seconds. You are interrupting my 60 seconds unless you are not interested with yours. I said two horses. He came and referred to the United Alternative Government as the horse and the rest as punda. It is him who said, not me. But I need to say something.
Yes,
very important. Very important. You need to allow me to say this. When he says that 3/4 of what they are calling the broad-based coalition is done, and his party leader, Power, is saying that they have not started. So William Ruto is doing this alone. He has been actually doing this alone.
It is a quarter that's left for
a quarter is left for Power.
For signing.
They have just confirmed to you. Listen. They have just confirmed to ODM that ODM's opinion on this does not matter. You've already been bought. Mumekula deposit.
Asante sana Bwana Ikua. Final words, 60 seconds, Rachel.
Yes, so pilipili sio ile inakuasha nini kama tumekula deposit, ni sisi ndio tumekula deposit. We are not complaining.
It is done.
If you want to perceive it as we've already taken some money, it is okay. But one thing I want to make very clear to Kenyans is this issue of zoning. Let us get it very clear that zoning is not just an ODM issue. Even previously we saw the DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua on the onset coming out and telling Wiper party leader Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka that in Nairobi we will not allow you or anyone to field any candidate. Yes. Nairobi is for DCP. That in itself is zoning. When Rigathi Gachagua said that 8 of these cabinet positions are for Mount Kenya, that is position zoning. So let us not look at it like ODM is being selfish, ODM is being undemocratic, ODM is moving away from its principles. No, we are doing what is happening all over the world.
Okay.
It's just not in Kenya alone. It is not isolated. The only difference is we are speaking about it just because of a little misunderstanding here and there and a little disrespect that we are seeing from our party, our coalition partners, especially from Mombasa. But when you come here and start telling us that ODM has been swallowed, ODM is going to fold up, I mean, ODM is even bigger than UDA.
Yes.
And we know
and demanding for respect.
And we are demanding for respect, and zoning is there. That is why we are seeing even other political parties, even Kalonzo will not allow DCP to fill candidates in Wiper strongholds. Why? Because you're going to weaken the strength of their political aspirant.
Thank you very much.
So zoning is not something isolated.
Your time
and
is
it's
done.
Not just new to
Mwalimu, 60 seconds.
For avoidance of doubt, 2027 presidential elections will be a one-horse race of President William Ruto versus the others, versus the rest. And President William Ruto will be leading a uniting national coalition that will be made of constituent parties who will not be interfered with. And so the debate of zoning should die. There will be an equilibrium on how that approach will be of 2027 elections will be done. And that coalition will still master the majority at the Senate, the majority at the National Assembly, the majority at the governors, and majority also at the county assemblies. That is a fact. And that government will drive the aspect of inclusion of all communities in Kenya in governance of the country.
Thank you so much.
And that will be the final takeoff and journey to Singapore.
It's a process.
Thank you so much.
No, it's a process. It's a process, and we are on that journey.
Allow me to acknowledge.
No, we are on
it is
that
a journey.
Allow me to acknowledge Mwalimu Wilson Sossion, who's an educationist, also a unionist and a former member of the National Assembly. Rachel Omolo, who's a public policy and governance expert. And Ikwa Wambote, political analyst. Thank you so much for your time at TV47, helping us look at the headlines today. These headlines are very interesting. Rakaraka Kura Wetangula Awasha Moto. Wilson Sossion does not agree. Daily Nation, most expensive presidency. Actually, President Ruto has spent 90 billion so far in the first 4 years. While Uhuru Kenyatta spent 90 billion.
We will come back.
After 10 years. And then the Standard Chan scandal.
We'll come and discuss.
The Star, Gachagua in big war with Mount Kenya MPs and county chiefs. And of course, the People Daily, why Ruto wants a new political vehicle for 2027. Our headlines this morning. After the break, we'll switch gears and talk about matters mental health, and Arno Dida will be here with a panel to discuss that. I'll join you later on for another discussion. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.